get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the greatest homesteading channel on the planet that has nothing to do with homesteading, usually. Homesteading off the grid. Showing you my honeybees here. I'm feeding them. We're going to have a talk about the birds and the bees here today. I had a big aha moment watching the birds and the bees. So our honeybees, though, they don't have enough honey stores really to get them through the winter. So I've been feeding them this stuff, and I want to give you a heads up on what it is. It's called, I don't want to interrupt them too badly. It's called Hive Alive. It's like this pasty substance type stuff, and they love it. Looks like this, comes in like a plastic package. The stuff works great. A package that size lasts me about a month, and it's only $20. So I'm going to attempt to get them through the winter by feeding them. And they're a very docile hive. I don't need to wear my suit when I deal with them. When the temperatures drop, I'll be putting the food, of course, inside the hives, inside the bee boxes. But listen, here's the deal. We hear about the birds and the bees, and we think about reproduction and think about having those talks with our children when they're of the age and the time comes to talk about the birds and the bees. And well, I had a conversation about the birds and the bees with my son and a couple of his football teammates last night at Halloween while we were out trick-or-treating. Hear me out. Don't think I was like being creepy with underage kids, because I wasn't. But it was a discussion about the birds and the bees. It's something I noticed this week while watching those bees and then a bunch of birds we have over here. Look, it's almost time to take this guy down. Ah! That was a pretty good. I might have to take a screenshot of that and use that as the cover photo. But I've got a purple martin house over here, and I didn't get any purple martins this year because we put the purple martin house up. This is the first time we've had it up. We put it up after the martins had already come back northward for the winter. But there's that. See that? We got some bluebirds that nested in it this year. They had 3 broods actually. Attacked my truck and pooped on the side mirrors all spring and most of the summer. But we're hoping, isn't that beautiful? The burning bush and the maple tree, and that's our light outside. Look at those burning bushes way down there. Gosh, I should show you. We're just going to walk around so you can see the backdrop of our property. That's the fruit orchard down there where the bees are we just came out of. Absolutely gorgeous this time of year. So anyway, I was laying on the porch the other day, getting ready to take my afternoon nap that I take every afternoon in my hammock on the porch, and I was looking at the purple martin house, watching some bluebirds mess around in it, because the eastern bluebirds, they don't migrate for the winter. They stay in Virginia. Some of them will come down further south if they're north of here, but our bluebirds here in Virginia stay here for the winter. So I've got some bluebirds that I haven't seen for a couple of months, getting ready, I think, to spend the winter in this purple martin house. And I got the bees, and I've been looking, birds and the bees, and I was thinking, why is it they use those examples when there could be so many more better examples for reproduction, maybe like the mammals and the fish or whatever. But I was observing these birds, and then later after my nap, I went down to feed my bees, and I had this big aha moment. I saw online recently, somebody posted, and this is true, and I never thought about it till I saw this post. So, of course, I had to post it on Sick Twisted Humor on Facebook, which, by the way, now has over 1 million followers. Thank you if you're part of that. And thank you if you're part of the almost 50,000 that we've gotten just in the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks over at Instagram. Thank you for all your support on all of our social media platforms. But the post said this. It said, isn't it funny how when you're 18 years old or 20 years old, you can borrow, you can get a loan in the amount of $200,000 to go to college, but you can't get a $20,000 business loan. And I saw that post and I thought, there's truth to that. You go in to get a $20,000 business loan, and they're going to be like, okay, what's your background in this field? What successes have you had? What revenues have you generated in the last 3 years doing this type of thing? They're very scrupulous in regards to the loan approval process. And if you're 18, 20, no, you're just not going to get approved under most situations. Now, if you've got parents who have assets and great credit and all that, and they co-sign, maybe, but more than likely not. Now, student loans, sure, here's $250,000. Go get some degree, and well, we hope that you make enough money to pay this back. But hey, if not, it's okay, because these are government-backed loans. It won't matter. Well, let me tell you why that is. Why you can borrow $250,000 at 20 years old to go to college, but why you can't borrow $20,000 to start a business. Down there's a house. That's why I had to stop and catch my breath. It's bigger than it looks around here. Okay, and we started way down there, remember? All right, so here's the deal. It all has to do with the birds and the bees. Yeah, that's a conversation we should be having about birds and bees with our young people. And this is a conversation I had while trick-or-treating on Halloween. Let me explain. It goes like this. I was watching those birds coming and going, and the old expression went through my mind, the old saying, free as a bird. There's a potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forest. So watch the backdrop behind me, watch for movement. If you see or hear anything odd or out of place, timestamp it so others can see it and hear it too. Those birds are free. Those bluebirds, they come and go as they please. Now they tie themselves down some when they have a brood. And it's interesting, both the male and the female bluebirds feed the young. And the male bluebird actually goes out and catches food to feed the female, whether she's sitting on eggs, has eggs, or they're gentlemen. Male eastern bluebirds are gentlemanly. They will seek food out and feed their female partner before they will actually eat themselves. They're pretty little birds to watch. I've learned so much about birds and stuff from living here for the last 8 years. You know, one of my favorites, and I'm getting to it about the loons, is the brown thrashers. They're a sizable bird, and they are a bird that prefers the ground, similar to a quail, though they can fly much better. They sing 14,000 different bird songs. They can make more calls than any bird in North America. But what's interesting about them is, free as they are, they typically will stay in the same general area where they hatch. They prefer hedges, don't go far from where they're born, but they could if they wanted to. Like the bluebirds, they'll fly all over central Virginia, then come here and have their brood in the spring. But now the bees are not free. The bees, they're enslaved. They're enslaved. They only live for approximately 21 days, then they'll die. And during that entire period, when they're not a larvae becoming a bee, once they take to flight, they have a job, and they have to work until they die at the ripe old age of 21 days, approximately. So, that explains why you can, listen, let's view that queen bee. This is who the honeybees have to work for. She's constantly laying. They have to constantly be out there collecting pollen, pollinating the flowers and the vegetables and the fruits so we can all eat. That's great. And then they have to come make this food to feed that queen so she can keep laying eggs. So they are like, some people estimate that the pyramids were built with slave labor. A lot of the U.S. historically was built with slave labor. That's what these bees are. They're slaves. So, if we were to view that queen bee as, it could be anything. Call it the system. You could call it your employer. You could call it the government, because we all pay taxes, right? I was sitting at the VA's office this week. You walk in, the first thing you do is you give them your last name and the last 4 numbers, your social security number, saying check you in. And I'm watching people come in and do this, and they're rattling off their last 4s. And I'm thinking, wow, there's like, 330 million Americans, and we all have that own unique number. That's how they own us. That's one way how they own us. Because did you know this? Like when the U.S. government borrows money from other entities, like say China, what they use as collateral is the earning income potential of every single American that's here. That's why when you're born, within days, you get a social security number. Because that baby, even though it's like only days old, that social security number attached to that baby represents a unit. How much that human being will earn potentially and approximately through the course of their lifetime, that's borrowing power for the U.S. government. So I'm in the highest tax bracket there is, A lot of you watching are the same because you're successful small business owners, you're successful subcontractors. Some of you are employees with really high paid jobs. And so you don't have the advantages of a lot of the tax write-offs and stuff business owners have. But you're paying all these taxes. That's your queen bee. Okay, well, let's say, well, you business owners, you independent contractors, you guys aren't as enslaved as the rest of us, but still, they want you to be trapped, they want you to be enslaved, and this is why it's dang near impossible for a young person just starting out to get a $20,000 business loan versus a $250,000 student loan. Because here's the facts. Let's say you take that $20,000 business loan. If you have any work ethic, any sort of business sense, and if you're in an area, I'll just use my area as an example. I'm in an affluent area outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. There are tons of beautiful properties around here, like mine. I mean, this is just one. You go down the road swinging a cat by the tail, and that cat's going to hit every other property. It's just gorgeous and looks like a resort. Most of these folks don't take care of their own property. They pay people to do it. So in an area like this, you could take out a $20,000 business loan and go out and buy a couple of zero turns, the finest, weed eaters out there, a really good pre-owned truck, and you could start a landscaping business or a lawn care business. There's a lot of competition, but you could make it. And in just a few short years, you'd have that loan paid off from revenues you're generating. And I have friends that do this. They're in this business. And you would be self-supportive. So you wouldn't be enslaved. And you could eventually get to the point, and the quicker the better, where you've got all these other people actually doing the work for you, and you're just running the show as the business owner, which is what business owners should do. They should not be in there doing the actual manual labor, tinkering around, building whatever they build or doing. Now, a lot of owners like to be there to make sure things are going well, and in the beginning that is probably necessary, and it's a great idea, but you want to get to the point to where you don't even have to be there, right? So you can be out expanding, focusing on revenues, not the in and outs of the day-to-days. Now we're up above the house. We're going for a heck of a walk. I hope you're enjoying the backdrop. Because you could escape the system. You get to a point to where, you don't have any bills because you weren't stupid with money and you weren't materialistic or consumeristic, so you didn't go out and buy all this stuff you didn't need, so you didn't go into a bunch of debt, get your house paid off. You're free. You can come and go as you please, and you can't be controlled, because I don't want to say the rules don't apply to you, but as long as you don't break their rules and you stay under the radar, you can pretty much come and go as you please and be free as a bird. Now, take out that student loan, $250,000 student loan, and let's say you're really not good at math and you really don't understand ROI, return on investment. So you go out and you borrow $250,000 to become a teacher. And you're making like 40-some thousand or 50,000, maybe whatever. It's both like minimum wage once you divide the hours into it. You will never pay that back. Now, you'll make your best efforts. You'll try. And in that attempt, you will be working full-time, 60 to 80 hours a week, putting in time on weekends, maybe picking up a part-time job because somehow they're telling us, oh, the economy's pretty tame right now, or inflation's pretty tame. It's only 8%. Hey, guess what? Salaries they've gone up 0% in the last 20 years. So yeah, inflation isn't tame or nothing to worry about if it's going up even 2.5% like it's done historically when salaries haven't. So you're going to be enslaved personing away for minimum wage, trying to pay off $250,000 worth of debt. That queen bee has you for your 21 days. When you're 85, 90, and it's all gone, you're on the deathbed, getting ready to take your last breath. You're that worker bee who never satisfied that queen, even though you spent your entire life trying. Isn't that beautiful? So that's the answer to that post I saw. Why is it that when you're 20 years old, they'll gladly loan you $250,000 or $200,000, I think it said exactly, for a student loan, but they won't give you 20 grand for a business loan? Why? It's all about the birds and the bees, brah. The system doesn't want. And you don't have to use the IRS or the government. Call it your employer. Just whatever, the student loan department, the banks. If you go out there and bite off more than you can chew, you buy too much house, you buy too many vehicles, then you're paying back all, and you borrow money to do this. You're paying back that interest on all that debt. You're the worker bee. The financier who loaned you the money, whether it was a bank, home equity line of credit, a HELOC, credit cards, personal loan, that's your queen. That's your queen. And you're the worker bee. And you'll never satisfy her. But that's what they want, because then all the bees are out there working and working and working. Isn't that beautiful? That's our main trail going up to our campground that we just walked through up there. All right, so that's all I really want to talk about today. Oh, I got to show you these burning bushes. Here's the backyard. There's our 10 years supply worth of firewood we've got. But aren't those burning bushes way down there just absolutely gorgeous? Down there on the other side of the field where Daniel and I play football all the time. This place is so beautiful. Getting ready to lose all the leaves, but it's beautiful even then, just in a different way. So remember, and it's never too late. If you find that right now you're that worker bee and you don't want to be that worker bee, you want to be the bird, you got to do things differently. You got to make some changes. You got to take a risk. You got to take calculated risks. But more than anything, you got to have the courage to get out there and take a chance. And when you see an opportunity, I tell Daniel, he's a quarterback on our football team. He's not a running quarterback, but he can run. He's a lot like Tom Brady. He's a passer. He just wants to sit back in the pocket and launch bombs, and he's good at it. But I tell him, sometimes the line's going to cave, your receivers aren't going to be open. If you see a shot, take it. As in, if you see a hole and you can pick up some yardage, take that shot. Don't be stupid. Don't go running into the middle linebacker that's twice your size that's coming to take your head off. Be prepared to slide. But you got to take a shot if you want to move the ball down the field. And that's the same thing with life. If you want to succeed, you got to take a shot. You can't just sit back and psychoanalyze everything and talk about all the reasons why you shouldn't do something, because you would probably fail because of this, and this. You'll never succeed if you make no attempt. You make an attempt, you might succeed. If you make no effort whatsoever, you're 100% guaranteed to fail. What a view of those burning bushes. I'm going to go check on my bees and stare at more birds and be more like the birds and less like the bees. I hope you do the same. Hope you enjoyed this little chat here from the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire planet that has nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. We'll see you for more next time.